Out of the D, one win away from the Super Bowl, baby. How are you? Welcome into the show. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Oh, wow. And it's lovely to have you along for the ride, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my goodness gracious. The Philadelphia Eagles yesterday beat the LA Rams 28-22 in a game that was way too close for comfort. And in a game that offensively, other than a guy named Saquon Barkley and an early run there by Jalen Hurts, was nerve-wracking and an offense that left a lot to be desired, especially when you got 2 turnovers and you can only catch them in for 6 points. That's 2 field goals, okay? That wasn't great. Jalen Hurts' performance wasn't great. But I want to start off by talking about a different Jalen, and that's Jalen Carter. Because I think all the way back to training camp, and no, not all the way back to when he was drafted. We saw his rookie year. That's what happened, whatever. So we saw him play in this entire season. We saw him come up in training camp. We saw him talk about how nobody's walking through that door to save him. Fletcher Cox isn't coming in here. He's got to be one of the leaders on the team. And I'll never forget, I think it was after week 13 this season, when a reporter asked him, as a leader on the team, as one of the leaders on the team, Jalen Carter. And Jalen Carter, a second-year player, eyebrows raised for a second, and he kind of looked back. I was like, whoa, leader. Oh, okay. Like, it was the first time it had dawned on him that he's actually being looked at as a leader in the locker room. And this entire season, the leadership has been there. This entire season, dominance on that defensive line has been there. They're to the tune of being a second-team All-Pro. Quite frankly, it should be a first-team All-Pro. But goes out there last night and gets you a sack in the early goings of the game. And then he goes out there last night and bookends the game with a couple of sacks. That was a phenomenal performance by Jalen Carter. And it's not just about the quarterback hits. It's not just about the tackles for loss. It's a lot about controlling every single battle he has there at the line of scrimmage. But it's more so about the fact that he came up clutch when this Eagles team needed him to come up clutch. And somebody pointed out to me after the game, Dan Orlovsky had put it out there saying that, this could have saved, the Eagles in this particular situation because Chauncey Gardner-Johnson comes down to play on the tight end, I think it was, and slips, leaving a crossing route wide open in the middle of the field, which could have trotted in for a touchdown. And the game could possibly go in the favor of the Rams. But instead, what happened on that play where CJ slipped, Jalen Carter came up clutch, beat his man, and was in the backfield before Matthew Stafford could even think about who was open. And then the Eagles were able to slam the door after that, an errant throw by Matthew Stafford, and the Eagles took a knee, and that was the end of it. But Jalen Carter's clutch performance in that game yesterday is the number one reason the Eagles didn't choke that away at the end. The number one reason the Eagles were able to do anything yesterday overall was the way the defense played. You might look at the scoreboard, go 22 points, and they allowed a 10-play, minute 48-yard drive that just marched on down the field, and they did. That happened. But the 2 turnovers, the sacks that they were able to get on Matthew Stafford, made sure that they were able to walk away with the win. Saquon Barkley on the offensive side of things. I mean, Zach Bond having himself a killer series, stepping up when they needed him to. Oren Burks even tipping a ball to help stop things there for the Rams. All these things came into play on the defensive side. On the offensive side of things, hey, look, I'm not going to look the other way. A 44-yard touchdown run by your quarterback is pretty awesome. To get things started, that's pretty awesome. Jake Elliott missing a point after, 1 of 2 yesterday, not so awesome. But Jalen Hurts starting things off in that way and also throwing the ball as well as he did in the early goings of this game, got everything going in the right direction. Talking about guys coming up clutch. How about starting out clutch? That's the way you start it. And that's how they started it yesterday. But then the Saquon show started. And what was wild to me was that Saquon Barkley's first run yesterday, he goes out there on the football field and in the first quarter gives the Eagles a 13-7 lead on a 62-yard run. Now, I was thinking, all right, this is the first half he's doing this. Forget the first half. This is the first quarter he's doing this. The previous game in Week 12, he had 2 70-plus yard touchdown runs, and both of those came in the second half. And I was thinking, well, throughout the week, all the Eagles did, Saquon Barkley included, also Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, all they talked about was, oh, this is a better team. This is a better team defensively than the team we faced in Week 12. This team's better. And I'm like, well, I guess they are better because that was only a 62-yard run and not a 70-plus yard run. And then when the Eagles needed what I thought would be icing, it turned out to be a kickstart for the Rams. I'm sitting there at Parks Casino, which, by the way, I had a wonderful time at on Saturday night. I'll give that in a second. But more importantly, I'm sitting there in the green room at Parks Casino across from my dear friend, Mr. Derek Gunn. And I look over to him and I say, hey, Gunner, I feel like Saquon's got one more. I feel like Saquon has got one more big run in him. And wouldn't you know it, the very next possession, Saquon rattles off a one-play drive where he goes 78 yards for the touchdown. Mike Tirico is going crazy in the NBC booth, and it's like, oh, that could ice it, for the Eagles. Oh, this is weird. You see Saquon at the end of his run, he starts like, I don't know what he was doing, but he's like celebrating before he even gets there. And I'm like, don't let the ball slip out of your hands. Don't let the ball slip out of your hands. I might have been the only fatalist thinking that, but I was like, don't let the ball slip out of your hands because he's bobbing his head up and down. And I'm not thinking he's going to do it to Sean Jackson where he puts the ball out there or Leon Lett or whoever. Not thinking that. I'm just thinking, secure the ball. Runs into the end zone for the touchdown. Eagles go up 28-15, and I'm thinking, this is it. This is going to be incredible. This is one win away from the Super Bowl. And then the Rams, in a minute and 48 seconds, run off 10 plays. I want to make sure I get this right. Run off 10 plays in 70 yards, 10 plays, minute 48. Cap it off with that Colby Parkinson touchdown. Make it a 28-22 game. The Eagles get the ball back. Oh, boy. Offense doesn't muster much. Give the ball back to the Rams. And then Jalen Carter happened. And it was another 10-play drive that they were able to put together. This one just didn't end the way they wanted it to. And to see the Eagles stand tall, especially on the defensive side of things, in that snow globe game, a snow globe second half, really, was amazing. One of the things that was wild was I saw Jeff McClain's tweeted out a video from the press box saying blizzard-like conditions. Oh, yeah, it looked like blizzard-like conditions. Oh, it certainly did. We're going to let you hear from Nick Sirianni. We'll let you hear from Jalen Hurts. We'll let you hear from Jalen Carter. We'll let you hear from Saquon Barkley. We'll let you hear from A.J. Brown. All the major players in last night's game. We'll let you hear from them all. Now, I just talked about the way things started for the Eagles. I just talked about the way Saquon Barkley came up huge for the Eagles, the way Jalen Carter did, the way the defense did overall. Isaiah Rodgers, I didn't even mention him yet. Isaiah Rodgers getting that scoop on that forced fumble, that was awesome. Not just for the reason of, there's a drive-stopping play there by the Eagles, and now they give the ball to their offense in the red zone, and unfortunately they were only able to come up with 3 out of that. But Isaiah Rodgers, for at least 2 or 3 plays earlier in the game, was right there to get an interception, right there to make a big play. And finally, he's in the right place at the right time, and he scoops that football up and returns it 40 yards to get the Eagles in deep into Rams territory in the red zone, as a matter of fact. So I love that it was him that was able to pick up that football because he had been just there. And with the Eagles without Quinyon Mitchell, needed somebody to step up and be that other corner. Darius Slay, during that final drive where he's jumping up in the air, he jumped way too early. But before that, had a great pass break up on 2nd and 6, if I'm not mistaken. And he played for the most part well last night, especially given the conditions. But to see the Eagles step up and slam the door the way they did was fantastic. So we've talked about that. Jalen Hurts. I really hate that this has become, you have to give like a disclaimer before you critique him, because people are so on the defensive about Jalen Hurts that it's mind-numbing to me. And quite frankly, it's annoying. I love Jalen Hurts. I hope he is here for 10 years, 15 more years. I hope he's here for – I always want that type of mentality, that kind of talent as your quarterback. Yesterday sucked. All right? There's no – we're making no bones about this. Talking about 7 sacks on your quarterback. I can think about 2 of them. 2 of them maybe. Probably just 1. But 2 of them were on the offensive line. At most. The others were just completely busted plays. Or holding the football way too long. And what keeps, it was rattling around in my brain on the way home from Parks yesterday. It was rattling around in my brain right before I went to bed. And it was rattling around in my brain when I woke up this morning. How in the hell's bells do you take a safety in that situation? How do you that it was one of the worst plays I have ever seen. And I was thinking, I was like, no, hold on. And I'll go through the particulars with you. But it was one of the worst plays I've ever seen. Considering where they were on the field, considering a guy was wide open, play call, having a guy in the shotgun in general also was odd, but that's just how they've played pretty much all season. And then the decision to take the safety. Jalen Hurts has done a phenomenal job of protecting the football, and ultimately he didn't turn it over. He fumbled it. Kenny Gainwell, fortunately, was able to jump on it, but instead of trying to compound the problem, it's almost like Jalen Hurts thinks in terms of Moneyball. Like, let them make the mistake. Don't try to turn 2. Don't try to steal bases. Just let them make the mistake. Jalen Hurts took that to the nth degree by taking that safety. And I went back and I watched it a number of times, and my first instinct was right. Dallas Goedert was wide open, right in the middle of the field. Wide open. And Jalen Hurts wasn't looking his direction on his first read. He was looking to his left. And then you see him pull to the middle of the field. And then you see, he clearly sees Dallas Goedert now wide open, starts to take the ball back, and then eats it to take the sack. That you either spike that football at the foot or feet of Dallas Goedert, or you just try to dump it down to him because he's right there. I don't know if he was just being, like he said, overly cautious. He took a sack. It was two points. Well, you don't want to risk bringing the ball out and then fumbling, and then they pick it up and it's 7. Everything was avoidable right there. The pocket awareness, and I know Cam Jurgens is the one that actually let the rusher through, but even before that, you had Dallas Goedert there, and you had time to get him the ball. Was it 3 seconds to give him the ball? No, you didn't have that. If that's not his first read, well, then it is what it is. So you got to go through your progressions. Looks like he went to him on his second read, had time to give it to him, and then turtled up. That was beyond dumb. And as much as I love Jalen Hurts, much as I think he is worth every ounce of that money that they gave him, as much as I acknowledge that a lot of this year, his numbers that aren't inflated are because of Saquon Barkley, not because he sucks all of a sudden. You don't have the, 37-10 record as a starter in the NFL, been to a Super Bowl already, now going to 2 NFC championship games in 3 years. You don't have that kind of record by being a terrible quarterback. I think the Eagles have heavily favored the run game over the passing game because, as I've said many times, they've got a very potent weapon there and Saquon Barkley behind this offensive line. But goodness gracious, it's okay if you're a Jalen Hurts fan, as I am, to say yesterday sucked, especially in the second half. Now, I look, you can't tell me. One thing that we always get into is the weather factor, and I was buying into it before this game. Can we just not act like everyone on the LA Rams is like born and raised from Los Angeles and have never seen snow? You know what I mean? Like Jalen Hurts is a Texas kid, as we all know. Do you think in Texas he was playing in blizzards? No. A.J. Brown, grow up playing in blizzards? No. I think he said yesterday he could think of one snow game that he played in. But Jalen Hurts never said that the conditions affected him. But he did talk about the learning experience that was playing in the snow. And that's no excuse. That's no excuse whatsoever. Same thing with A.J. Brown. But A.J. Brown was asked point blank, did the weather conditions have anything to do with the faults of the passing game? And he's like, oh, hell yeah. Like, absolutely. We'll let you hear from him a little bit later in the show. So, look, I'm not going to look at this game and say that it was the weather that made Jalen Hurts play this bad, but I do think it had something to do with it. It being, the blizzard conditions has no effect on the fact that Jalen Hurts has Dallas Goedert wide open in the middle of the field and instead takes a safety. That's just dumb. So that was frustrating yesterday. Jalen Hurts struggling through this game in the throwing game. And then one of the things that has just been amazing throughout this entire year is the Eagles need him to make a play finally, and he comes up with that 4th and 4. On that 4th and 4, I have that on my notes here somewhere. On that 4th and 4, he hits A.J. Brown on a slant route. And it was perfect. It was just like they'd established a rhythm the entire game. And one of the things Jalen Hurts said after the game was that he's got to get rhythm. If he can't get rhythm, then he's not going to be able to perform. All right. Well, he never really got that rhythm, especially in the second half. So he completes that pass, and before they convert on that 4th and 4, me, Seth Joyner, Derek Gunn, have a powwow for a second. And I go, what are you guys doing here? Are you guys going for this on 4th and 4? What's your play? And we all said punt. We all said bury the Rams. Bury them deep in their own territory and then make them drive down the field. Now, as the game went on, that proved to be rather an easy thing for the Rams to do. But the Eagles would stand fast when they had to. But on that 4th and 4, they went for it. They got A.J. Brown on the slant. They converted. They go from the Rams 32-yard line to the Rams 23-yard line on that play. That was a nice play. I like that play. Thank God it worked out. Thank goodness it worked out. They ended up getting another field goal on that one to make the score. Then it was 22-15, and then they would add on 6 more with the Saquon 70-plus yard run to cap off their scoring for the game. And then Jake Elliott missed his second of 2 point-afters. But when you needed Jalen Hurts to make a play on that 4th and 4, he made a play. And it's one of the few plays that he really made in that second half. The sacks that he took were just unbearable. Well, I guess they were bearable because they won, but unbearable to watch. I'll put it to you like that. But from start to finish, before we get to the sound here, and yes, if you're just joining us, I did start on time, and I haven't even looked at the comment section yet, but here we are. One more game, go Birds. Yeah, I'll get to you guys. Don't you worry. I do have a Fox 29 hit today, so I wanted to make sure I got started a little early and then give myself a little bit of extra time to get there considering the awful weather. And if you're driving today, please be careful. Boy, oh boy. So things start off with Jalen Hurts running for that 44-yard touchdown. I just want to make sure I hit everything in the game here. Jalen Hurts hit a 44-yard touchdown run. That was great. 6-0 Eagles. Jake Elliott missed field goal. Tyler Higbee gets the touchdown on the very next drive. 13 plays, 67 yards, 523. Makes it a 7-6 game in favor of the Rams. Hurts takes his first sack. A.J. Brown was open. Not his first read. His first read was to the right. Eagles ended up going 3 and out in this situation. Jalen Hurts looks to his right. I think at Devontae Smith, maybe Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson, I think, was the motion man on the play. And Jalen Hurts takes his first sack. He looks over to A.J. Brown, who was open, and he doesn't get him the football. So he takes that first sack. Time to throw. Open man takes the sack. No bueno. Rams go 3 and out in return. Jalen Carter got his first sack of the game, first of 2, as we know. Saquon Barkley breaks off the 62-yard run, makes it 13-7 in favor of the Eagles. Marcus Robinson, just before the end of the first quarter, comes up with that 48-yard grab, and it was just taken out of the hands of Isaiah Rodgers, who I mentioned earlier, who was just there to make a couple of plays throughout the game, and then finally got that scoop and big return later on. Williams gets stopped for a tackle for loss on a 3rd and short by Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and they held him to a 30-yard field goal on that one. Actually, I think it was a 4th down, actually. And then the score goes 13-10. Kenny Gainwell comes in, gets a great return. This was another thing that really bothered me about the Eagles, especially when you talk about field position. Kenny Gainwell puts him at the 44-yard line. This might have been the most frustrating drive, quote-unquote, that the Eagles had. Kenny Gainwell, after that field goal, 30 yards there by the Rams that made it 13-10, gets a 44-yard kick return. On 3rd and 8, Hurts gets sacked again. And such a bad sack that he gets taken out of field goal range. They get the ball at the 43-yard line. They're only able to go 18 yards in total. That's pathetic. Absolutely 100% pathetic. Later on, the Rams, on the next possession, they ended up getting a 3rd and 1, and that's when Josh Sweat stepped up there and was able to get the tackle for loss. That was his big play. Milton Williams was in there as well. Barkley then takes the hit on the hand on the next possession. The Eagles actually out of their own end zone to start that drive late in the 2nd quarter. Then Hurts takes his next sack unfortunately, on the next possession there by the Eagles on a 2nd and 8. That one was maybe the only one that wasn't his fault. However, he coughs up the football during the sack, and that's when Kenny Gainwell jumped on it. So even the sack that Jalen Hurts did nothing wrong, pressure was in his face immediately. He coughs up the football. Then there's a 3rd and 24. They're taken out of field goal range as well, and they really couldn't get anything going there before the half on the 3rd and 23. Come out of halftime. Rams come out. They face a 3rd and 4. They hit Cooper Kupp down the field for 30 yards. Then Williams breaks off a 30-yard run. Reed Blankenship has the missed tackle about 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. Ends up being a 30-yard run there for the Rams. But how about this? The Eagles' defense does what it did pretty much the entire game, which was hold them to field goals. Don't have killers here. Hold them to field goals as much as possible, even after big plays. Now, did they allow touchdowns? Yes. But field goals were pretty amazing for the Eagles yesterday in terms of holding the Rams to those field goals. So in that drive, Jalen Hunt gets his sack. They end up settling for a 34-yard field goal, makes it 13-13. Rams kick off. Eagles get a 31-yard play to Dallas Goedert. A big play, and unfortunately amounts to a 44-yard field goal later on. That was the one where Mekhi Becton had the flag thrown on him for illegal man downfield. When I saw that play develop, and I saw how far out in front Mekhi Becton was, I think it was a play to Dallas Goedert. When I saw how far out in front Mekhi Becton was, I went, yeah, it was the Goedert. Goddard 19 yards to the 3-yard line on a 2nd and 10 with about 4:30 remaining in the 3rd quarter. I see Goddard catch the ball, and I immediately look ahead of him, and I go, wait a minute. There's no way Mekhi Becton, the right guard, made it to the opposite side of the field that fast and that far upfield that fast without it being illegal. And then I think it was also the body language of Mekhi Becton that hinted at it as well, because he was doing a little triple toe loop. He was turning around, spinning around, looking for, oh, damn, that's probably on me. He was looking for the flag himself. So unfortunately, they don't get anything going there, but then they get the field goal, 44 yards by Jake Elliott, makes it 16-13. Rams go 3 and out. Eagles get the ball back. And this is where I just don't get it. They get the ball down at the 4-yard line. So the Eagles are on their own 4-yard line. They go to Barkley. He gets 4 yards. On the 2nd and 6, another thing. It's not 3rd down. This isn't your final prayer. So they're at their own 8-yard line. Who the hell gets sacked when they're on their own 8-yard line? 8-yard line. That's or safety, I should say. That's reserved for guys that are backed up on the 3, on the 2, on the 1, on the goal line. They line up in shotgun. So Jalen Hurts should know where the hell he is on the football field. And he still takes that safety. What the hell? My sanity by Friday is going to be just blaming the weather. That's what I'll default to for my own sanity. But please, by Friday, don't let me forget how dumb that was and how stupid I feel that was even now. And it was that dumb. So Hurts takes the sack, unfortunately, on that play, makes it 16-15, because that's not weird. Then in the fourth quarter, Williams fumbles the ball. Rodgers picks it up. They return it 40 yards. They're able to get the field goal after that. Barkley gets a touchdown on that great run. Barkley gets a touchdown taken off the board, stopped at the 1-yard line. Lane Johnson, of all people, on a tush push, how the hell does this even happen, gets called for the false start. I was raging at Collinsworth, and I'm not one, you guys know, I'm not one that rages at announcers, no matter who they are. But when he was like, oh, Lane Johnson flinched, and I'm like, no, you shut up. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh, he totally flinched. Totally flinched. But the Eagles settle for the field goal, 23 yards, go up 19-15. Stafford then fumbles. How about Nolan Smith forcing that ball loose? Zach Bond's able to recover that football. Eagles go down the other end. They were going to get a 37-yard field goal to make it 22-15. And then all hell breaks loose when it comes to Oren Burks making the deflection on a third for a 3-and-out by the Rams. Barkley gets a 78-yard touchdown with 4:37 remaining in the game. You think everything's gravy after that. 10 plays, minute 48. They march down the field, the LA Rams. This I don't put on Hurts other than get rid of the football. Hurts takes I believe it was his final sack of the game on the 2nd and 7. That's where they had that fake handoff where it looked like a fake run right. Hurts rolls left. I think it was A.J. Brown at the top of the screen that was not open, but open enough to sail the football over his head instead of taking that sack. But he takes the sack. I don't know if Jalen Hurts just had this horrible feeling of thought of the ball just slipping out of his hands. I don't know. But the Eagles give the ball back to the Rams. The Rams go have all 3 of their timeouts, and they end up burning them on the next Eagles possession where the Eagles go 3-and-out, and then the Rams start marching down the field again, and then Jalen Carter happens. All right. Without further ado, let's hear from the good people of this Philadelphia Eagles football team. First and foremost, let's give it up for Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter on his game-clinching sack.
Sack at the end there?
Oh, yeah, man. I don't know. I just been read the O-line the whole game, and I thought I had a good rush in mind, and I did that rush and got a sack on it.
What'd you do on that?
I went towards the center and did a little fillet and went back inside. It wasn't really nothing special, but it worked. Did it 2 times in a row, got pressure on the quarterback in 1 sack. Felt good, though.
Well, nothing special, but it worked. Yeah, you're damn right it worked. I mean, Matthew Stafford he ate it. For as many sacks as Jalen Hurts took in this game and 8, Matthew Stafford, he had a big old helping of that one. Big old helping. And Jalen Carter was all over it, man. And I couldn't be more happy for this guy's progression this year, his production, and the leadership that he's shown on this football team. Absolutely love it. And here's how you know. You really want to know the leadership? Listen to what a guy like Saquon Barkley says about what Jalen Carter brings to the table.
JC's so special, man. He's going to be one of the ones. And I ain't trying to put too much on him right now, but going against him and now being on the same side of him and talking to him on the sideline before that, and look in my eye and let me know that he's gonna make the play, and he's one of one. So it was big. I love the support from the sideline, from the fans. The offense, we all were standing up, supporting our defense, and that's what it takes, man. It takes every single one of us. We want to accomplish what we want to accomplish. It's going to be a team effort, and we did that today.
Looked me in my eyes and told me that he had a big one waiting. Looked me in my eyes and told me he had a big one waiting. That sounds like a love fest, but it's not officially a love fest until Nick Sirianni says he loves you. He did that several times after the game yesterday.
Jalen Carter is a special player, and he's just done so many of the right things to continue to make himself a special player. Can't say enough about Vic and the job that he does of putting him in position to succeed. Clint hurt. man, Clint Hurtt is a special coach that has helped Jalen, and then all the credit goes to Jalen, who's continued to get better. Jalen's consistently done the right things in and out of the building, from his conditioning to his weight to his style of play. And Jalen Carter, man, he's special. Like, for him to rush the passer the way that he did, in our group rush the way that we did in moments of where the footing wasn't great, that to me, that was a championship effort by the defense. And we get our right we earned a right to play for a championship, the NFC championship this week against a really good football team. But Jalen Carter, I can't say enough good things about his development as a player. And the reason that happens, it just doesn't happen because of talent. He's talented as you guys see it. He's so talented. But, this league, there's a lot of guys that are talented, and it takes more than talent to reach your potential. And he's continuing to rise, and that speaks a lot to Jalen Carter.
I was put in a time machine when I heard Nick Sirianni say that after the game, because I went back to the questions about Jalen Carter's character before the draft, and I even went into this year, docked a start because he showed up late to a team meeting. Like, you're waiting for the maturity factor to kick in here. And then you see the production. And you hear teammates, whether it's Saquon Barkley, whether it's Darius Slay, or whether it's your head coach, singing your praises the way he has. Vic Fangio has had fun with Jalen Carter throughout this year as well. Like, oh, do you know good morning? Like, even just little stuff like that. Just, the maturity of this guy and the progression of him throughout this season is off the charts, is absolutely off the charts. And I'm so glad that it was him to end this game. Him or Nolan Smith are the guys that I wanted to end this game for the Eagles to come up with the big plays. And those Nolan Smith had a huge play, knocking that ball loose. And then Jalen Carter came up and was able to put the icing on the cake there for them Georgia guys, especially not having the Kobe Dean. As far as the rest of this game went, let's go ahead and hear about the conditions. First and foremost, A.J. Brown. I think I have the question in here. Yeah, I do. It's about the conditions. A.J. Brown yesterday.
Did the conditions affect the passing game?
Absolutely. It affect everything. Like, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. That was not fun. Honestly, that wasn't fun at all, man. Tough game, tough conditions, but you make the most of them. And, try to get the win, and I'm glad we did it.
All right. The passing game was affected. Okay, fine. Matthew Stafford, 26 of 44. Good Lord. For 324 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 5 times yesterday. Also had a fumble. Jalen Hurts, 15 of 20. Not bad. But 128 yards. 7 sacks. He had a passer rating of 91.2. Matthew Stafford had a passer rating of 97.2. So not that different. But you know what is different? 324 yards through the air. Now, Matthew Stafford is not exactly the most mobile of quarterbacks. He's not a statue. I give him credit for at least being able to throw the ball out of the pocket a little bit. But the other thing is that the Rams had 111 yards rushing to the Eagles' 285. So, yeah, I would say a team that can run the football well is going to concentrate on doing that. But you never want to see your offense look that bad. And 15 to 28 is fine, but I would have rather seen Jalen Hurts go 15 to 25 as opposed to just 15 to 20. And those 5 throws be throws where he's just getting rid of the ball. Oh, what if it's an interception? Yeah, they had time to just chuck it. And he had guys that would help him avoid intentional grounding. The one that's still just crazy. Oh, my God. I know they wanted him. Happy they wanted him. They went away from the Super Bowl, and that's all great. But goodness gracious. The Eagles have a great defense. The Eagles have a great run game. And in games like this, Jalen Hurts is, hey, look, I understand that his presence on the field does a lot for the run game. And that's not just a 44-yard run saying that. That's, making sure lanes stay open for that extra half second so that Saquon can get there when they have to account for Jalen Hurts on the read option. It's not like they did with Kenny Pickett where they didn't give a damn. And I hate comparing the two, but just for the point, his presence on the field affects it. We talked about throughout the season when Jalen Hurts is on the football field with Saquon Barkley averages 1 more yard per attempt. That's pretty good. So I'm not ignoring that he has an effect on that, but you never want to see the passing game struggle as much as it did in this game. And that includes the sacks taken. You might look at it and be like, oh, 15 to 20. What an accurate day. What? It's not just about being accurate. It's about being smart. And you could say, oh, you ate the football. Yeah, it wasn't as bad as he didn't fumble 3 times in the game. He didn't lose 1 fumble in the game. He fumbled once, and they didn't lose it. Thank goodness for Kenny Gainwell being there. But you look around at some of these other guys, like Lamar Jackson yesterday, he's getting guys dropping footballs at the line of scrimmage. A.J. Brown, if he corrals that football, he comes down in the end zone for a touchdown, and things look a hell of a lot different. But seeing Jalen make bad decisions to eat the football when he did, it just makes you think that he's like playing Moneyball. It's just like, hey, just don't make the mistake. Don't make the major mistake of turning that football over. It's almost to a fault. And the best point of that is the safety. So that sucked. But as far as the passing game in general, yeah, discombobulated would be the word. When Jalen Hurts was asked about it after the game, he talked about just not being able to establish that rhythm. As far as Jalen Hurts, when he was asked about whether or not the conditions affected his play today, here's his take on the snow.
Out today.
It was a new experience. It was a new experience. Definitely, next time that happens, I'll be able to look back and pull from this game and be better from it.
What kind of things would you pull from the game in these conditions?
Well, the communication is important. The fundamentals are important. And just being in attack mode. But I think those are all things that generally you should be focused on anyways, regardless of the conditions. And so I want to give a ton of credit to the team we just played. You know, they've evolved as the years gone on, and offensively, defensively, been very, very efficient in what they do. We talked about their front 7 all week and how they're able to affect the passer, and they did that tonight. And on the other side of the ball, they were able to move the ball at certain points, but our defense nutted up and played a hell of a game.
Defense nutted up. Okay, I didn't use that term yet to describe how well the defense, but they did. In fact, according to the Elias Sports Bureau, nut up. Anyway, so the conditions you could tell affected him. Look, you just watch him play. And this is not an excuse by any means. But if you're like, wow, this was worse than normal, a lot worse than normal, I'm going to go ahead and say the weather had something to do with it. And when A.J. Brown after the game was like, hell yeah, it had something to do with it. Wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, A.J. Brown? Okay. But Jalen Hurts definitely affected him. But hey, chalk it up to a learning experience. Thank goodness gracious. And let's hope that that's it. There was one more thing that I want to get to here when it comes to Jalen Hurts, and that's the injury. When it looked like a hip drop tackle, which is supposed to be illegal in the NFL now, but, whatever. They pull him down from behind, turn his hips, bring him down. Literally for this reason, it's supposed to be illegal, but, the NFL just makes up rules and then ignores them sometimes. Pull him down. Looks like he has his knee or his ankle or something. He's grimacing. You can see it on TV. Goes to the medical tent. He's in there for an extended period of time. Gets a knee brace and comes out and plays, and even has a tush push where he scored, but it was negated by the Lane Johnson false start. So now we got to be worried about our starting quarterback. And don't get it twisted. As much as I might have hated yesterday's performance by Jalen Hurts in the passing game, I don't just want Jalen Hurts to be the Eagles starting quarterback on Sunday against the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. I want to be the starting quarterback in the Super Bowl, and I want to be in the starting quarterback for the future Super Bowls that the Eagles are playing in over the next 10 years, or maybe even more. So Jalen, not very descriptive when it came to injury.
It's a tough game, a challenging game. I was able to finish the game and see how the week goes.
Were there separate injuries? Like at the end of the half, it looked like you were slow to get up. You were late coming out of the tunnel, and then of course you had the one that sent you to the second half.
No.
You said you'll see how the week goes. Is your status uncertain for next week?
Great question. No, I was just seeing how the week would go, seeing how things progress.
So you think you feel confident you can play next week, I guess?
Yeah.
I like that smirk of confidence. Yeah, I'm going to play. Okay. I haven't seen anything come out. I haven't seen the dreaded Shefty tweet of quarterback Jalen Hurts is thought to have a blah, 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 blah. But no, oh, God, no. Question in doubt. He's doubtful. You had the brace. You finished the game. Okay. Not a great game. Not a great game, unfortunately. Oh, how could I not let you guys hear this? So Saquon Barkley had 200-plus yards yesterday, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 runs of 60-plus yards. Well, obviously, 162 and the other 78, I believe it was. So that's a pretty good day at the office. But what really captured his attention, especially after his second touchdown run, was the crowd and the atmosphere at Lincoln Financial Field. Here he is yesterday talking about that.
You live up for it.
Crazy, man. I mean, it was insane. Like, got a smile on my face thinking about it. Like, this is what you dream about. This is why I came to Philly. I wanted to be a part of games like this, and I'm just happy to be able to be a part of it.
Crazy. Dude's dreams coming true. South Philadelphia. You absolutely love that. Gotcha, Jalen Carter Saquon Barkley. Oh, okay. So now Nick Sirianni was also asked about this. I thought this was interesting. The luxury. I don't know who asked the question, but in a game like this, where you're so dependent on the run game with the weather conditions and your passing game struggling, luxury. How much of a luxury was it to have Saquon Barkley today?
He was able to
Given the conditions or not in the conditions, it don't matter. It's a luxury to have him. That's for darn sure. Love him. I can't say enough good things about him and the leadership that he brings to this football team and just everything he brings to this football team. He's special.
I know I've said this a million times, but it's worth saying again. I grew up in the era of what if Barry Sanders had the Cowboys offensive line? What if Barry Sanders ran behind that offensive line? This is that. This is as close to that as I think we'll ever get. The guy with as much talent, if not more talent, than any running back in the NFL right now, going behind the best offensive line in football. By the way, I asked the question yesterday on postgame about the 7 sacks and how much that makes you worried about the offensive line. I'm not that worried about the offensive line. I think, again, at least 5 of those sacks were on Jalen. The safety, certainly on Jalen, and still your center got beat on that play. But Jalen had someone to get rid of the football to. If not for a completion, then just, again, to bury it at his feet. And not take a sack, for crying out loud. That's like, oh, Jake Elliott's spotting him 2 points with 2 missed point afters. And now Jalen's going to spot him 2 points. So now you got him a field goal plus. Wow, what a generous people we are. But Saquon was fantastic, goes without saying. This is I want to stick with Nick Sirianni here. He was asked about the start of the season, being 2-2 going into the bye week and how much they changed after the bye week. Nick, in the answer, in the early portions of the answer, you can almost tell that he's like, look, I'm tired of how much I've changed. You know, like I caught a little bit of I don't mean this in a negative way, but attitude from Nick Sirianni, where it's like, we're not talking about that anymore. This is what we are. We're going to play for the NFC Championship. We're 1 win away from the Super Bowl. I don't want to hear about how much I've changed drastically. We were at a Super Bowl 3 years ago, and now a year removed, we're back, or close to being back. So Nick took a little exception to the idea of how much things supposedly changed at the bye week.
2-2 seems like a long time ago. We're here where we are now. I think we're battle tested from some of the stuff. We embraced the adversity. We're battle tested from some of the things that we went through last year. Had to kind of drag ourselves through the mud to get to this position. We had to drag ourselves through the mud through the early starts and a lot of the doubts, and now here we are right now. But that's the way football goes. That's the way life goes, and hopefully these guys are learning. You know, we talk a lot about it, and hopefully these guys are learning through the ups and downs. You can pick yourself up and go again, and that's the great thing about coaching is that you you take opportunities to do that to help these guys not only become better football players, but to become better men.
Become better men is what he says about it. And that's great. And I love the idea of him just going out there and saying, hey, look, we're not that different. This is who we are. And I love, now some people will say, oh, get over it as last year. I love that factors in. How does it not? I mean, isn't that the way, life works? Where past mistakes or embarrassments should lead to bigger and better things because you learn from them and become better from them? Well, he's looking at 1-5 in the last 6 games, including the playoffs last year. He's looking at the epic collapse, which was like the worst collapse in almost 40 years in the NFL. And he's looking at that and be like, well, that really sucked, but look at me now. I'm not bothered for a second by that for the coach. Last thing I have for you here. This was around the time that Jalen Hurts got hurt. Saquon Barkley said that the Rams were throwing some cheap shots at that point in the game. Cheap shots?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get too much into that. I personally think, especially on that drive alone, there's a little cheap shots going on. They were tackling a certain way. But, when you have two talented players and we put up 250 plus, you expect that. But I think Jalen came out and, was the word that he is and came out there and grinded out for us, and we got the win.
I don't want to hear any cheap shots. I don't like that. I don't like that a little bit. But Saquon was basically like, yeah, they hadn't stopped anything we had done in the 2 games that we had played them, and from the run game perspective. So we expected it. All right. Well, I don't like that. Do not have the cheap shots, please. And thank you. Hey, let me tell you about the game. Oh, real quick. Early feeling on the Commanders. Eagles go into this right now. They open up at 4.5-point favorites. The Commanders over the weekend shocked the world. One person I know called it, and that's Mike Jarek, a guy I'm going to be talking to in about an hour. Mike Jarek nailed it. Said that the Commanders are going to beat the Lions. The Lions, I really feel as if they're the guys on IR for them throughout the year. It finally caught up with them. The Commanders cashing in on so many turnovers. 14 points from 2 of the 5 turnovers was pretty damn impressive. And here's the only thing that concerns me about the Commanders is that they just don't die. They just can't die. They're like a monster in a monster movie or something, like a horror film. They're the bad guy, and you just can't kill them. And Jaden Daniels, you just can't kill. Just can't end it. This is a game where I think the Eagles are really going to miss Nakobe Dean. I think they're going to miss 2 very good linebackers that have the opportunity to spy a guy like Jaden Daniels, especially late in the game, when the Commanders could be down, and he could be breaking an 11-yard run on a 3rd and 11 or 3rd and 10. Say that. But I still like the Eagles over the Commanders. And how about this? I heard my man Alden Abbey say this on the Sixers game last night, on the broadcast last night. But, yeah, who would have thought? The NFC East, that was the real powerhouse, not the North. Go figure. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARS to get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARS, you get $20 off your first purchase. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. And don't forget about Game Time Picks. Oh, no. Don't forget about it. You download the Game Time app, use Game Time Picks feature. Toggle that feature, and you'll see all the best seats at the best prices and literally save yourself time from scrolling through thousands of potential tickets. You'll just get right down to it with Game Time Picks. The best seats at the best prices with Game Time Picks. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARS. You get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Concert, comedy show, game. Game Time app has you covered. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's phlsportsnation.com. How about our friend Brett at Sky Motorcars, skymotorcars.com. Check out Brett's amazing inventory at skymotorcars.com. Let's get into the chat check. It's vast today. Tate Jeffries, good morning. You're damn right. You're welcome for the early start time. I appreciate it. Thank you. Sean Gillespie, hello. Happy MLK Day. Happy MLK Day to you. Mark, 1 game, go Birds. Hell yeah, Philly. Thank you, Philly, too. Devin Shannon, go Birds. Bolo the Menace, what's going on? Go Birds. Defense is elite. Absolutely elite. Sean Gillespie, nervous about the NFC Championship game, though. Hopefully the Eagles can be healthy enough and Jalen can fully shake off the rust. I hope so. Sean Kilrain, hello. Nick Sirianni now 3-0 against Sean McVay after today's victory. Sirianni 8-0 against McVay. Dan Campbell and Matt LaFleur. How about that? James Alexander, good morning. Charles Dead, early show, pre-recorded. Great job yesterday on the bet. Thanks, man. I appreciate that, Charles Dead. No, we live, baby. We live. Victory, says T-Bro. Hello, T-Bro. Tate, Becton had a bad game when they weren't running. Yeah, not great. Brandon Howard, hello, good morning. Brandon Howard. Now, Seth was right yesterday. Jalen played it safe because he can't see clearly over the line to see if they're. That's crazy. Like, there was a passing line. There was zero excuse. And I agree with 90% of the 99% of the things that Seth said. I disagree on the safety play. The overhead angle, which is essentially in this aspect as good as the all-22, passing lane to Dallas Goedert. Seth was right about it. Okay. Daz, good morning, Daz. What's going on? Trying to get everybody in here. That was a heavyweight fight. False start. Yeah, Lane's false start says Tate was rubbish. He rocked a bit before the snap. I don't know. Verse played a good game. I give him credit for that, but he got every ounce of the booze that he deserved. Hungry Dog Sports, hello. Devontae and AJ would... if Devontae had that catch, he got rocked on that one, and the next play was the big run by Saquon, the first big run by Saquon, so that play kind of got brushed under the rug a little bit. But if Devontae catches that, then it's a different story. If AJ catches that, it's a different story in terms of just evaluating the passing game. Roads are trash. Oh, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that heads up. Yeah, be careful on the roads, everyone. Snow didn't help, says Dank. I concur. Anthony, I wonder if AJ is hurt. He didn't play well. He said his knee is getting better and better. So let's hope that that's the case. Let's certainly hope that that's the case. Pukalani is hilarious. That is funny. Anthony Lear, I hope it doesn't snow next week. It's not supposed to. That's good. I see this comparison a lot. Josh Allen had 130 yards passing, yet nobody complaining in Buffalo. Yeah, I get it. Philly Bob, Mark, you can't take a safety and 3 other sacks that were on him. They will never be Kansas City with him as quarterback. They literally are a holding call away from him beating Kansas City. And Jonathan Gannon not being a big dope. So I will say that. And he did have the fumble in the first quarter. Hurts has not been good. I thought the previous game would be his worst one. This was his worst game. Taco Star. Great name. Lots of cheap shots in yesterday's game. Jalen got hip tackled. No flag. Late hit. I agree. Runs able to run against Commanders. I think he'll be able to run. He seems pretty confident. I watched film. What are you talking about? Yeah, I think they can beat Kansas City. Those sacks were not on him? Walt, are you bragging about watching film and saying that that's not on Jalen? We're talking about throwing the ball away, man. Ugh. Look, I again, I'll say the disclaimer. I love Jalen Hurts. I hope he's here for a very long time. Yesterday was a bad game. Passing-wise, yesterday was a bad game. And there's no one that can convince me that that safety wasn't on him. I mean, we're talking about, look, you lose the battle at the line of scrimmage, but you had time to get rid of the football. And you were on your 8-yard line, for crying out loud. Anyway, thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. Morning rush. Sixers are terrible at basketball. So there's that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on the Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel for your Eagles pre and post game needs. And make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel where you can catch me breaking down the Sixers because, that's a boatload of fun. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everyone. Be back with you guys on, tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact. So see you guys then. More of me, Fox 29, coming up 7:45 today. See you.